Hello, and welcome to Uniquely UCF Sociology, a podcast production of the Department of Sociology here at the University of Central Florida. I'm your host, Dr. Ramon Hinojosa. Uniquely UCF Sociology is a podcast that explores the research and creative efforts of those who are doing the good work of sociology. You want to know what sociology is and what contribution sociology makes to improving our lives? Well, you've come to the right podcast. It's Uniquely UCF Sociology. Today, I'm speaking with Dr. Amy Donley, a tenured associate professor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Central Florida. Dr. Donley is the longtime director of the Institute for Social and Behavioral Sciences at UCF, which is an organization that works with underserved communities and community partners to identify unique community needs, with a particular focus on reducing homelessness and improving food insecurity. Dr. Donley's research on poverty, food insecurity, and homelessness is published in the leading academic journals in the United States, and she's a co-author of the book Poor and Homeless in the Sunshine State, Down and Out in Theme Park Nation. Hello, Dr. Donley, and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. So let's begin by asking about where you went to school for your PhD and what your dissertation work focused on, if you can remember that.
I know it's been a while. I went to this really excellent program. It's called UCF Department of Sociology.
How about that?
A graduate of the very first cohort of our PhD program. My dissertation looked at the intersection of homelessness and crime. So I looked at how homeless people are victimized by crime, levels of perpetration, as well. The focus was on the way housed people view those that are experiencing homelessness, and particularly this perception that they are dangerous people.
Interesting. So tell me about your work now. I'm assuming that you still do work in homelessness and the intersections of crime. And so what do you have going on?
Yeah, a lot. So being director of ISBS means we study pretty much everything. So we are still doing some work in homelessness and food insecurity. But right now, our two main areas of research are actually intimate partner violence and the opioid epidemic. So with IPV, we're doing a year-long evaluation of IPV in Miami-Dade County. And that involves pretty much everything. Every social research method you can think of is being done. We have some, really big, broad research questions, like things like what can the county do better to serve victims of IPV? How much is IPV costing the county? So we're working on that. And then in terms of the opioid epidemic, we've got 3 projects going on. 2 are in Orange County. One is a gap analysis, looking at the availability of substance use treatment, particularly for those without insurance, private insurance. And another one is really just looking at using medical examiner data, looking at the trends of unintentional fatal overdoses. And we're working with the Orange County Drug-Free Office to target interventions at the neighborhood level that are really tailored to the community. We're also doing a gap analysis looking at opioid treatment and mental health treatment in Volusia County. They are a new partner of ours this year.
Oh, wow. So you've got a lot going on.
You got a lot going on.
That's amazing. So can you give us some preliminary findings, if you have any, or if you're able to share those?
Yeah, we're in our 3rd year looking at the data in Orange County. And I think what the biggest finding is that particularly when we're looking at opioid overdoses, is it truly impacts people from every walk of life. Some of the neighborhoods that are impacted are what I think people kind of think about, right? Low income, food desert, and then others, median income that is double or more of the county. It's young people, it's old people, it's every race. It's, it really is impacting everyone, which makes it really difficult to target interventions because there's not a simple answer.
I would imagine so. And I would imagine it's probably fairly expensive to create interventions given the wide swath of population that opioids really affect.
Absolutely. And then it starts, issues like lack of good public transportation. So how do you get to the treatment? Where do you put the treatment throughout the whole county?
Excellent. And so this work is going through the Institute for Social and Behavioral Sciences. And so maybe I could get you to talk a little bit more about ISBS and just broadly what the work is that you do there.
Yeah. So it was inherited from the Department of Psychology. It started there in the 70s. It came to the Department of Sociology in the early 2000s, and it really started as a telephone survey lab, right? Doing kind of public perceptions, issues like transportation, resident happiness with their community, and things like that. But slowly over time, it has really shifted. There was no more telephone survey lab. So that is, the response rates became a little challenging because I don't know if you're like me, if you don't recognize the phone number, you don't answer. So that makes it really
Yes.
hard to do telephone surveys in this world. So we really shifted in doing much more like mixed method studies, a lot of program evaluation kind of work. And it's really gone from kind of almost public polling to really sociologically grounded work, long-term projects. And we work primarily with nonprofit agencies and governments. And kind of our favorite thing is we work with many partners over and over. Some of our clients we've been working with for 10 years. So we really try to build relationships with different organizations in Central Florida and increasingly throughout the state.
That's amazing. And so you're using these sociological techniques to provide policy guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything from working with a nonprofit to look at the programs that they are offering, within their agency. Are they serving their clients to the best of their ability? To something like what we're doing in Miami-Dade, where we're working with county government to figure out what policies are most effective.
Excellent. And so the work that you're doing on food insecurity, if I could ask you about, first, could you, for our audience, just explain what food insecurity is and why it's such an important issue?
Sure. Food insecurity, simply defined as the lack of access to healthy food, consistent access. You've probably heard a lot about it through the COVID pandemic. It is one of, I think, one of the first social problems that it's always there, but it immediately increases under any sort of crisis, right? The health crisis, economic crisis. Food, you want to keep your roof over your head, so you pay your rent, you keep the lights on. Food is the kind of the first thing for people to go when they start struggling, but it's incredibly important. It's important for children, obviously, in their growth. We've seen the impact of seniors, particularly if they are, taking medications. You need to take those with food, and food insecurity in seniors actually can mimic the signs of dementia. So the importance of nutrition, really, and then you start medicating for dementia when really what we need is a healthy, consistent diet. And it seems simple, right? There's food everywhere, but getting food to the people that need it seems to be the challenge. Our most recent work, we partner with Knight's Pantry on campus, right? Our food pantry on campus, and they're also downtown and at the Rosen campus as well. So we just did a climate survey to measure the impact of food insecurity. Not only the number of students that are experiencing it, but what impact does that have? So does it slow down their time to graduation because they're spending more time working? Can you not do internships and other kind of things you want to do in college because you're struggling with food insecurity?
That's interesting. So, in my mind, it seems to go against what we think of in terms of the state of Florida, right? And seniors that tend to retire down here. There's the perception that all of the elderly here in Florida have lots of money and therefore lots of access to food. But you're suggesting that that's not the case.
It is not the case, right? Those people definitely are here, right? If you've seen the villages, yes, some seniors are doing really well and enjoying their, retirement years and are not struggling. But there is a sizable portion of the senior population. Many have spent their entire lives in poverty. Many are being impacted for the first time in their life. We're actually seeing an increase in homelessness among seniors, kind of anecdotally around the country right now, and that's direct result of the housing crisis, and no increases in Social Security benefits, but potentially significant increases in rent or property taxes
Yes.
which can lead to, homelessness, housing precarity, and food insecurity.
And certainly an issue that many Floridians are wrangling with right now.
Absolutely. Yes, in all age groups.
So I would say the same for college students, right? We have this perception that college students are, middle or upper class, but your work is suggesting that there are many college students that are suffering from lack of access to good nutritive food.
Yeah. I mean, and the work that's been done around the country, that's another kind of, hidden social problem, because we do have a perception of college students, they're fully supported by their parents, right? They're living the good life. And yes, some students have that experience. But even particularly like a school like UCF, right? Where you have more non-traditional students, more students working full time, more first generation. It's really not surprising that we see higher levels of food insecurity among college students.
So for our listening audience out there and those who may be interested in coming to UCF and studying with you and getting involved in the work that you do, what would they expect if that were the case?
The unexpected, I would say. If they want to come and do applied work, I think the first thing that students learn is it's very different than doing a project in a classroom where it's a very controlled environment. When you are doing work in the community, there's a lot of moving parts. So this morning I got a call from someone to do work, and it was something that was discussed 2 years ago, right? I just thought, oh, I guess that's not going to happen. Well, it's back, and that is the nature of our work. You kind of never know what you're going to do. So I would say flexibility, but it's good because we really never get bored. We're always studying lots of topics. Right now I have 5 graduate students that work with me and ISBS. And when I say work with me, I mean work with me. We are collaborators. It's not professor and students. We're collaborators. They work as project managers on different projects, and we really try to align their own interests and their research and their skills methodologically to the projects. But for most projects, at least 3 or 4 of us work together on them because there's different methods going on. So they do everything from survey and data collection, secondary data analysis, mapping. A lot of interviews are being done right now over the summer for these different projects. So they're doing the interviews. Then we do the analysis, reports. They're authors on all of the reports. And so it's really from beginning to end, they are really leading the way on these projects.
Yeah, it sounds like they're getting some excellent mentorship as well along the way.
Well, they're really fun to work with, I have to say. They're fantastic.
So where do you students tend to go on to work?
Well, not surprisingly, most of them end up in the applied world. So some former project managers from ISBS are at the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which is, so they're very statistically minded, right? Others are, one runs the evaluation for the nonprofit that runs foster care in Florida. So she runs their evaluation division and really steers the kind of research and the new programs that they are going to implement in the state. Others work at market research firms or private social research firms. And then some do go into academia as well.
So that's amazing. I think, again, we also have that perception that if you go to graduate school, the only thing that you might end up doing is standing in a classroom or publishing papers. But the students that you work with go on to work for governmental agencies, non-governmental agencies. Sounds like they're in the private sector as well, and probably getting paid a whole lot more than we do as professors.
I was going to say, exactly. It's good mentorship when they go out and make more money than you instantly, right?
That's right. So for all of you who are listening, don't forget the little people here. Oh.
Exactly.
Excellent. So if I could ask you to highlight a piece of creative work or a piece of writing that you've done that you're most proud of, what would you say that is? And so if somebody wanted to get to know who Dr. Donley is and what sort of work that you were involved in, what would that be?
It's an older piece. It's from 2012, but it's co-written with my mentor, my dissertation chair, and it's called Safer Outside. It's in the Journal of Forensic Psychology Practice. But it was based on interviews that we did, focus groups that we did with unsheltered people experiencing homelessness and living in the encampments really close to UCF, so off of 50. And most research in homelessness uses either secondary data from point in time counts, or they go into shelters. And that's how I've done a lot of my work as well, right? You go to service providers. So we know so much less about people that are living unsheltered, out in camps and such. So to be able to sit down and do focus groups with them and really understand, what they're dealing with, why they are in camps as opposed to in shelters, it really I think we learned a lot, and we were partnering with Orange County on that, and it led to the development of a drop-in center for people who are unsheltered on the east side of town. So it really, I think, is kind of a perfect representation of the work I do.
Okay. Well, if you could provide that to us, I'd like to drop that.
To.
Excellent. So we'll put that in the link so anybody in our listening audience can get access to that.
Okay, great.
Well, Dr. Donley, I'd like to thank you for taking your time today and sharing with us your excellent research and the work that you're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Excellent. Well, I'd also like to thank you, our listening audience, for taking time from your busy day to listen in as we discuss all things that are uniquely UCF sociology. This is Dr. Ramon Hinojosa saying thank you. We hope you'll join us next week.